Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We call ourselves Baltimore Positive. It has not been a real positive week around here with the ouster of the Ravens. We will be doing a Cup of Soup or Bowl beginning on the 3rd of February. I'm going to be getting out and talking about the community, talking about charities. If you have a community or a charity that you support, we'd love to have them out to tell their story. We told 78 stories last year. I'm not going to tell that many this year. I'm throwing myself on the mercy of all that is good and righteous. I killed myself last year, and I'm not doing it this year. So we're doing 50 this year, noon to 5, beginning on Monday the 3rd at Costas. We will be at Fadley's on Tuesday, the 4th. On the 5th, we will be at Coco's in Lauraville. Thursday, we'll be at State Fair in Catonsville. And then Friday the 7th, right before another Super Bowl in New Orleans that we're not in, we will be at Cooper's North in Timonium. Leonard Raskin joins us now. He of Raskin Global. A little more tardy. I've given you a little bit of time to think things through. We gave Mark Andrews time to think things through. John
Yes.
Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta showed up on Wednesday morning to think things through. So
Here we are.
and I thought about this a little bit too, because I had John Martin, the executive director, one of my other great sponsors. You're on the front of Baltimore Positive, and I think of him as being he is a Clevelander and a Cleveland sports fan, Indians, Guardians, his story and all that. And I brought him on, and I was thinking like, well, Browns, Ravens, whatever. And it turns out he's an Ohio State fan like you.
There we
So,
go.
so I can lead with Ravens with you, or I can lead with Ohio because you claim Ohio State because your son is a graduate and played with the band and all that stuff. So,
Yes.
is your kid happy at least?
Thrilled. So as you know, the boy is in Ireland. He's in Dublin, and school started for him. This semester started Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock class, and we were FaceTiming. It was Monday night. It was about 10 o'clock, and he was at, I guess it was 4 in the morning. I was in San Antonio, Texas. He was in Dublin, Ireland, and it was 4 in the morning, and we were screaming with each other, watching the end of the game, and he is very happy, although unhappy that it didn't happen during his 4 years. He had to become an alum for them to win, but he is thrilled. He was absolutely thrilled. And
as long as they win at some point.
That's right. No, it's great. And as a good dad, as I am, he had to get up at 9 for class, so I set my alarm for 3 in the morning, woke up, called him to make sure he was awake for class at 3 in the morning, my time, which was 9 where he is, so he could get up, go to class, and then he got home and slept for many hours.
Well, rest assured, when he made this decision to go to Ohio State and spend your money on his education,
great stuff.
He was not thinking about the NIL or the portal or what. So as I watched,
it wasn't even in his world.
I realized just how much I hate college football.
Oh, I love it.
Because all of my life. Like back in the 70s.
It's now getting more honest. It's getting more honest about what it really is.
Listen, your buddy Joe.
Minor league.
So's America.
Football.
The mafia's running it now, and the Saudis are throwing money. We're honest about what we are. We're about the buck, baby. We're all about the Benjamin.
That's
Let me
right.
say this. In the
Joe
70s,
was plenty about the Benjamins for him and his family. Don't kid yourself.
I grew up in the 70s back in college with real college football. And Joe, your buddy Joe, would be very appreciative that I rooted for Penn State. Like after Capoletti and Brian Song, I, in the 70s, the plain helmets. And
look, dude, I applied to go to school there. I applied at Penn State. That was my spot.
Because of the football program.
No, somewhat,
yes.
but because I wanted to go to Penn State.
Heard of Penn State if
I wanted to go to Penn State. Joe Pa.
Wasn't raping young boys for a whole generation.
Stop it. Nobody knew that.
Well, but that happened.
It happened. I get it. And in the meantime, here's what they sent me. They sent me a letter, and it said I was admitted, I was accepted, and I could commute. Because they didn't have housing for me. And I said, commute from Randallstown?
Find a place in State College.
Yeah, but I was poor. Dude, I was poor. There was no going there. I went to Kate State. Come on, I went to Kate State.
What year did you graduate high school?
82.
I was 85. All right, so 85 Dundalk. At that point, it is in-state, out-of-state thing. Poor. I mean,
Crazy.
come on. My dad
Poor.
worked at Bethlehem Steel. My mother was a homemaker. We had
Yeah.
nothing. And at that time, it was like in-state, like to go to Towson was 1,500 or
Yeah, right.
1,800. Penn
Exactly.
State was like
It
7,000
was
because we had,
ridiculous.
and Harvard was
No
20.
way.
Now it's
Yeah, no
100. You
way.
laugh at all of that or
That's
whatever.
right.
But
Crazy.
like, even if I could have gotten in, my dad wasn't bringing home
I got in, we had no money.
$20,000 a year
No,
to
no.
spend.
My mother was legal secretary. That's all I had. My parents were divorced when I was a kid. Mom was legal secretary. I was paying rent. I wasn't going
Well,
to
I
Penn
mean, then
State.
neither one of us could afford to go to
Right.
Penn State.
That was my
So.
point. So I went to Kate State. And so then I went to University of Baltimore, got my degree, very happy. 37 years in business, life is good.
You went to UB. We
Yeah,
went to the same
absolutely,
school. Did you know
absolutely.
that?
I think I did. I think I did.
Okay, I'm gonna get my
And
degree out,
so
put it on
there
the
we
wall.
go. So all said and done, 37
It
years
says
later.
on it BS.
That's what mine says.
Science.
BS.
Bachelor of Science is what it says.
That's what mine is. BS in business. So there's the boy at Ohio State, and I got to live
I never
four
passed a science
vicarious.
class in my life.
Me neither.
Neither
Four
did Trump.
vicarious years at Ohio State cheering the Buckeyes, and now I'm back to no sports school because there's nothing in Dublin. Trinity College has, I think, a rugby team. I think they have a rugby team.
They're
Right.
Irish.
That's it, a rugby team. But I get to cheer the Buckeyes, and so check this out. I had to go. I was scheduled to go to San Antonio for a business conference for 3 days last week. So I went Friday. I flew in Saturday. I flew in my Caps jersey because the Caps were playing and they won. Saturday to the conference, I wore my Derek King Henry jersey.
Is that purple, white, or black? What color?
It's black. I have a black.
Yeah, black Henry, 22.
And so I'm wearing that, and the conference had the game on at the end of the night. They had a social with the game on, and I had to endure the hell of Sunday
Was there
night.
a Bills fan in the room or no?
There were a couple. But they were cool. They were cool. It was good.
Well, they're used to losing. So
that's right.
They come into it.
Fatalistic. And then Monday, I got to same thing. About 200 people watching the college game, and I got to scream and holler. And
how many Notre Dame fans? There's one in every
handful. Yeah,
yeah,
handful. There were a few Buckeye fans, but
I was always anti Notre Dame. I was always anti Miami.
Always anti Notre Dame.
This is part of being
what you do for Catholics and convicts.
See, here's what my father. This is growing up with a dad who stood in soup lines. This is one of the reasons we're doing a Cup of Super Bowl. My dad always liked the underdog. My dad always hated New York.
Sure.
My dad always hated the big teams, the money teams. My dad always rooted for whoever the underdog was. So I grew up in that environment. So therefore, I never liked Ohio State or even Michigan was really good then.
Never really paid a lot of attention. I liked Michigan because I liked the fight song. And I like their uniforms. I like the blue. I like the uniforms. But when my son decided
Don't
Ohio State,
say that out loud after your Ohio
when my
State.
son went to Ohio State, that just blew up. It just went away. You had to change teams quick.
I will say this. I will honestly say this. I think I hated Ohio State all along. I loved Archie Griffin and Cornelius Green. 72, 73. He was the first player I fell in love with in college football, and Capoletti was right around there, and Brian Song came. And then it was Burt Jones and Earl Campbell, and into the 70s, I was an original draft guy. When the Colts drafted Barry Krause, I had watched the Sugar Bowl. You know what I mean? So I'm talking 78, 79, 80. And by the way, here's a plug because I want to get to the Ravens with you, and and I'm going to take a cheap shot at the Buckeyes for the next week. I have all Pro Football Hall of Fame voters on.
Yeah.
And I've had Clark Judge. I had Vic Carucci on. This week I had Howard Balzer. So I've had, because Yanda, Suggs, and Steve Smith are up, right?
Yep.
So, and I'm not doing Super Bowl 2 weeks from now, where I usually have these guys on. So next week I'm doing all of this. It was all brought on by you. 2 weeks ago, you started on this, Suggs. By the way, most of the people I've talked to on the committee, the people, there are 49 people that vote.
People that know.
I will have 15 of them on by the end of next week. So I'll have 1/3 of the voters on by the end of next week, okay? And I also have Joe Flacco, Jamal Lewis. We're doing all sorts of stuff. Next week's going to be great, and then a couple of people. So they all have told me so far, I'm 4 for 4, that Yanda will be the first one of the
That's
three.
wild. That's wild. Hey.
And I didn't think that, but they think that. So how about
Well,
that?
they must know something. We'll
Well,
see.
I know something.
There we
Last
go.
thing for you on the Buckeyes, and I want to
Yes. Yes.
congratulate.
It was
Hang
a
on, Sloopy.
it was
Sloopy,
a
hang on.
heck of a
Hey,
game. Hey, look,
hey,
they had a great 4-week run. I mean, Tennessee talked about that they were going to come in and orange the shoe. They got blown out. They had a incredible game in Oregon against the Ducks. They blew them out in the Rose Bowl. They had a road game in the Cotton Bowl. They had to play Texas in Dallas, wiped them out. And I thought Notre Dame would be a really tough game, and until Notre Dame came back, it was a walkover.
Well, Notre Dame's going to have all the money, right? I
Right?
mean, like there's going to
They
be
got
money
plenty.
in
They got equal money.
Alabama.
They
The
got equal
problem
money.
is the hillbillies in the South. They got to split their money between Auburn and Alabama. They split their money. Florida's got 3 programs. I mean, Ohio's got Ohio
But
State.
the alums are
Michigan's got
given where
Michigan
they're
State,
given.
whatever. Notre Dame has they're like Canada, like the Blue Jays. They have a country.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a different thing.
They got it
And
all.
like I'm going to be so
And how about
no offense to Ohio State, but if I had to have one or the other, I'm happy. I like you. I like Bob Nussgaard. I like some Ohio State people.
There we
so
go.
I'm okay with them winning, but I am on the money of college sports in general.
It's just what it is.
It's no fun. The fun's over.
Well, it's gonna just become a couple big conferences, minor league football, and we'll see where it goes. Who knows?
Well, look,
but,
it's college basketball got there. How many Duke fans did you know that had not Duke's this big? Nobody ever went to Duke, or nobody ever went to Georgetown. Kids were getting murdered back in the 80s, but the Georgetown Jackets and all that. Nobody has any Georgetown or Duke pride. It was all about sports.
Yeah,
so it's not.
Absolutely.
I grew up here or whatever. Half of my friends' kids go to Alabama because of the football team. They don't even.
Well, not only that. I will say this to their credit. They give out a lot of scholarship money. They for real regular education type students.
Well, they have
they're famous for that. Well, that's my point. They're famous.
Well, the money should be that more money, right?
Ohio
State theoretically, this isn't just going to benefit their football program.
Right.
It should literally, at some point, once they pay off the kids, help. Yep. And the coach makes his $12 million a year.
That's where the money is. That's where the money is. The NIL money isn't necessarily through the school. It's private. A lot of private money just rolls in, and they just are allowed to pay them. It's unbelievable.
I'm a partner with Coppin State University, as you know, and I had their basketball coach on this week, Jermaine Woods. Great guys. And,
right.
He told me about how he took a job teaching math at high school just so he could coach girls play basketball. He was a D3 sharpshooter player. And how much college women basketball. He's got a girl over there, Layla, who's playing great ball right now. She's a conference player. He's
She'll be gone.
If she weren't a senior, she's gone.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a different world. And he's saying this out loud to me on a Coppin State segment. I'm like, it was kind of like I told him when I watched Loxley during that Raven preseason game in August, bring his kids on, and it was like a classy Freddie Blassie. He might as well had a cane him and pat him. I got the best athletes. We pay these kids good money. And he's saying to these kids, it was like Hulk Hogan and Freddie Blassie.
That's it.
I don't recognize it, and it's not. I'm shell shocked as a 56-year-old guy.
No, it's a different world.
It's just
a different world.
I'm not as interested in it, and I think for the teams and people like you, your kid went to Ohio State. I don't know. Is Maryland ever going to be able to compete in this environment in that way? And even the Marylands and Rutgers and places that don't have any juice. Or even
not
places
big,
like Villanova.
But here's the thing.
But I don't even know if they'll have juice.
When we're talking about football, the answer is no. The question is, in the other sports, in the other parts of the world, can they? I don't know. Ohio State, I think they won 6. I think they got 5 or 6 championships this year so far. This academic year, and they're not all getting NIL money, but they attract because of it. They attract a lot of people, and this is the other part of it. Let's call it what it is. I get an email because I'm on their mailing list for tickets and things. I get an email after the championship, and they're talking about how we run it back and blah blah blah, and they have a QR code and a block you can click on, and you can contribute to the NIL. They don't disguise it one bit. You can Donate to
This
athletes.
reminds me so
Donate to
much of like
athletes.
churches in the South and give me money and
Hey,
medallions for the 47 felon and
it's what
like it's just sort of
it's
like
what the
it's a
game is.
collectible on the wall. It kind of remember when the Packers sold the stock for $1 or
Yeah,
whatever it was. You got
yeah.
a sheet put on the wall.
You're a shareholder.
I don't recognize it, and it's not that I don't want to participate in it. I watch the game for a half or whatever, like whatever, but I'm trying to play this out in the way like the Orioles lowered the ticket prices or the hot dog
Food.
prices and the beer and all that, and I'm
Well,
thinking
that's because they don't have to pay
$5
Santander.
beers.
They don't have to pay Santander.
Yeah, $5 beers do not equal $50 million shortstops. They don't.
Right,
They really
right.
don't. I mean,
Well, I guess they cut a good deal with the vendor or something because they don't need that money. I guess, Rubenstein's going to get it somewhere else. I don't know. So
well, he's going to
far,
get it somewhere else from you. I mean,
well, I
from
don't know.
me, us.
I don't know about from
know?
me, but he hasn't spent anything yet that's attractive in any way, shape, or form to my future.
Somebody put up this little bandit video. It was kind of funny. It was like a Family Guy bandit video.
Yeah.
Cartoon thing about him sneaking out the back. And it was sort of like the joke was, oh, we're not going to sign Burns and Santander, but we're going to have $5 beers.
Right.
You know?
It's going to be cheap to come to the ballpark.
I mean, what can I say about
I can go to Aberdeen if I want cheap at the ballpark.
Look, they just hired a legitimate friend of mine as their head of marketing.
Who?
A man named Mark Fine.
No.
He's
Who?
Baltimorean. The Orioles. The Orioles
hired.
The
Okay.
Orioles hired someone I know that I've known for 30 years.
Yeah.
As their marketing head. So I threw him a note and I said, I'm here. And,
still me. Still me. Still here.
Still Aparicio. Still
right.
Hall of Baseball.
Still here.
Fame. My cousin's still in the Oriole Hall of Fame and in Cooperstown.
Unbelievable.
Right next to Ichiro. He got less votes than Ichiro, but that would,
unbelievable.
Listen, I'm doing Hall of Fame. I'm 15 minutes into this with you, and we have not in any way talked about
Lamar
Andrews, Lamar, Derek.
All right, so here's what I'll tell you about my thoughts about that. First, who are these idiots in town that are so angry? I mean, all right, Mark Andrews dropped the ball. Now, if I guess if you are a betting soul and it cost you your car or your house, A, you might have a right to be pissed. B, you're an idiot. Okay, but who are these people that want this man dead or want this man traded or want this man cut? I mean, look, it's freezing. It's cold. They knocked the ball out of his hand. That's not why we lost the game. Lamar Jackson threw an interception to nobody. He dropped the ball and rolled it to, what's his name?
Milano. Von Miller.
Von Miller.
Von Hayes. I'm going way back.
He rolled the ball right to him and said, go score. Nobody wants him dead. I don't know. I watched the post game.
This is the new thing on the internet with
it's
these
crazy.
Right,
well, because people are idiots and they're anonymous there. They think they can be anonymous and nobody cares. But
it's like this jackass eating all the pizza. He goes around eating all the pizza.
Yeah.
He came here, gave money to someone.
Right.
And
then rates pizza.
A publicity stunt.
Right. And then rates pizza.
And
rates pizza.
Shats upon
why is he
pizza.
the arbiter of pizza?
His thing, that Barstool thing, is the harbinger of
right, but I'm saying, why is he the arbiter of pizza?
Of everybody your kid's age.
It's unbelievable.
Is never going to listen to sports radio
and doesn't know a thing about sports.
People,
doesn't know a thing about sports. I mean, come on. They lost. It was a bad game.
But this is the new thing. Hayes, the kid, the loser.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Kicker that misses the kick in Texas, whatever it is, right?
The call at the end of the first half, offensive pass interference when the receiver is grabbing his head, pulling him down, and defensive pass interference, ball on the 2. Okay. I guess you got to overcome that. Look, I watched the Kansas City game. We could talk about it for years. Two guys from Houston collide heads together. 15 yards roughing Mahomes. Mahomes wasn't touched. I mean, these guys stink. The officials in the NFL, I will say this, I've said this for 20 years, They need full-time paid officials. This sport is too big. The money is too big to have amateur, old, slow, fat men making calls on the field.
Let's get a congression.
Terrible.
Let's get Congress
Terrible.
involved in that.
I'm all
That's
for it.
Listen, I mean,
I'm all
again,
for it.
we're talking gambling here, and
that's my
not
point.
Against it.
That's my point.
Who is sanctioning it, and who decides whether you win or lose your bet?
That's right.
And there's no other bet. I talked to John.
Well, how about
was
it the Chiefs?
It
was the Chiefs who took the safety.
Up and up to every single dollar that comes in.
It's right in front. You know what's happening. There's no scratching off. There's no scratching off a wrong ticket.
The cards that are dealt that when you go into a casino,
it's bad.
The one-armed bandits, they're all regulated by the government because there would be hokey pokey.
Yes.
I mean, do you remember when DraftKings came out and the ruse was it was going to be for fantasy sports?
Yeah, right. And
the whole thing
Please bet responsibly.
Do you remember the whole thing was gamed in regard to it was a scam. There was a back-end scam.
It's complete garbage.
Where people were gaming it and where there is money. And there are going to be loopholes. There are going to be thrown games, fixed games. They've got players with apps gambling.
Yep.
By the way, Joe Flacco has texted me back while we were in the middle of this segment because I invited him on next week. I said to Flynn 2 weeks ago, can you imagine, given my relationship with you, Flynn, or Joe Flacco, that I'm in that locker room every day and I could find out how, go up to the quarterback and say, are you not playing this week in Cincinnati because the game's no good? Because Joe told me at Harriman House 14 years ago, I'm not playing this week. Whatever Harbaugh says, I'm not playing. I'm not. Well, he wasn't hurt. It was one of those stupid end of the year games.
I get it. Yep.
And I'm like, that's insider information.
Absolutely.
In your line of work, you go to jail for that.
Unless you're in Congress.
Like Madoff stuff,
you're in Congress. You can do it if you're in Congress.
Well, but it is an amazing thing with sports gambling. How
it is unreal.
People got unreal. At Mark Andrews and accusing him of throwing the game.
I'm sure that's what he did.
The first thing now is that everybody's accused of throwing games.
Right. I'm sure that's what he did.
I'm
sure that's the stupidest thing in the world. It's the stupidest thing in the world. I don't buy it one bit, and I think people are idiots. And thank you, Buffalo fans. They've raised over $50,000 for Mark's charity on a GoFundMe
which is,
page.
By the way, diabetes, which helps.
Right, for children's diabetes. Children's diabetes. Over $50,000 for Mark's charity. So if you have a heart, go on the GoFundMe page and help Buffalo.
They need the money more than the Ohio State NIL needs.
Absolutely.
Hey, what else you got on the game? Because you're not angry about it.
I was crushed. I was sitting there. I put my head on my hands on my head. I couldn't believe Lamar threw an interception, rolled the ball to Buffalo. They did a nice Peanut Tillman, knocked the ball out on Mark. And then all of that, and the officiating, and Lamar still drove him down the field and had a chance to tie it. Okay, so let's go backwards a minute. I understand we're back to, analytics. Now we're talking analytics. Let's go for 2. Kick the extra point. Later in the game, if you need to, you get 2. You kick the extra point, we're tied, we're in overtime. Nobody's blaming Andrews for dropping a 2-point conversion because they didn't need it. No, you got to go for 2. So now you got to go for 2 again. And it's a tough shot. You get lucky, you make it, maybe you don't. Okay, so they blew it. Who knows? One of my friends said to me, Jaden Daniels is going to be in the Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson.
It might happen by Sunday night.
It could. It could.
You know what I thought about this week?
It's crazy.
If Andrews catches that ball and we win the game, right?
Right, then what?
No matter what.
Then what?
So, I'll tell you what. I'd have been bringing barbecue back from Jack Stack because Luke and I had flights to Kansas City. He had a press credential. I was going to be driving Mr. Jones, and I was going to get a seat, sit in the upper deck, and
sure.
Freeze my ass off, do all that. And we have flights to New Orleans too. But if he catches that ball, and we're in this game this week, and we've got Philadelphia and Washington on the other side. They're playing the early game. We literally would begin the game knowing we could go to the Super Bowl and play the Eagles or the Foreskins.
Yeah, one or the other.
And it's unbelievable that at 6 o'clock on Sunday night,
it was over.
The Washington football team could be in the Super Bowl.
Could be in. Could be in. Anyway, so let's go to my other Washington. Let's drop that for a minute. Go to my other Washington, the only one I care about and watch.
You don't root
Capitals.
for the Maryland Commanders?
No.
They play in
Capitals.
Maryland. You do know that.
I know.
Right?
I do know that. At Ral John, or Largo for those of us
Nobody
from
our age is going to
Maryland.
adopt them. There's just no way.
No, hell no.
I mean, we lived through 84,
Hell no.
95. There's no way. No.
Washington Capitals, points in 10 straight games, lead the entire NHL right now. Alex Ovechkin, 20 goals from tying Gretzky. They go on the road. They're playing Edmonton. They have the best road record. They have the best overall record in the league. They're playing possessed. Logan Thompson, the best goalie in the NHL right now. Highest save percentage, highest win percentage. Utterly unbelievable what this team is doing. And just stunning to watch. And if you're a hockey fan and not paying attention to this, you're missing the boat.
By the way, Craig Laughlin, we did not give him love last week.
Yes.
And I gave it to him on
some heart
I meant
surgery.
To bring it up with you because I talked to you.
Yeah.
You know, Locker was on the first team I covered in 84.
Yeah, what a great guy.
My first press pass
great
when
guy.
I was in that locker room, I was really young. And it was a big deal to have a Caps press pass for me in 1985. You know, for Eddie Frankovic.
And the big Pringle. Big Pringle.
Alan Hallworth. Stephen Leach.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brian Murray, and Terry, his brother, was the assistant at the time, who I became friends with. I mean, those are great memories for me. And I want to bring this up because I did bring this up in my column this week, and I know you read it.
Yep.
About Mark Andrews not taking the podium.
Step out the back, Jack.
A couple things I haven't said out loud. I wrote a lot. But Luke and I talked about this the other day. I said to Luke, do you want to go to Buffalo? I told you last week. I was thinking about going on with my wife and like all that.
Right.
And Luke's like, well, if we go up, I won't be there to clean the lockers out if they lose. And if they win, we're going to go to Kansas City anyway.
So
there's nothing sexy about Buffalo. Let's just not go to Buffalo. And that was Luke's business.
His call.
Decision, not me.
Yeah.
I said, do you want to go? We'll go. We'll get up. We'll find. And he's like, no. And then, so as it turned out, we're both at home watching the game. And then Mark Andrews doesn't show up. And that is case in point for what would inflame me as not just a fan, but as a traveling media person, as a person who was a reporter who worked for a boss at the Sun, where the Baltimore Sun was writing a check, sending me,
don't get that story.
And then you don't get the story.
Right.
You don't go back to your editor and say, I didn't talk to the most significant member that played in the game. That's why you're there.
Right.
It's basic 101, and Mark Hyman can have it down at the journalism school at Maryland or over at Morgan where they are. But the responsibility, it's not a social responsibility. It's not a players association.
Well, what's amazing?
It is. So what I want to say to you is, where were you, Leonard Raskin, on the evening of Easter Eve, 1987?
You know where I was.
Were you at the game?
La Fontaine. Of course I was at the game.
Can you imagine?
It was horrible.
As you walked out of that rink and all the fans.
Yeah.
And when the puck went in the back of the net, it becomes this silent
the worst.
thing where everybody grabs their jacket
and goes home
and leaves leaving
a morgue.
Like a funeral, like a quiet church.
Yes.
It's like the end of a church service at a hockey game.
It's horrible. It's
not football where last year, whatever the noise was when they got eliminated, when you were leaving the
stadium. No.
Hockey is different. And
just
when you've
done.
It is
7 periods.
You and me to have been at that game. It's one of the most incredible sporting events.
It's horrible.
Mile High Miracle. I've been at amazing events.
Yep,
I've been at amazing sporting events.
Yes, indeed.
But that night
was the worst.
A young reporter, and I didn't tell this story, and I want to tell you this guy. I've never told this
go ahead.
before. And Phil Jackman just died.
Yep.
So Phil was teaching me how to be a man. I'm 18 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 18 years old at that time. And I have my press pass, and Phil and I are up. Eddie Frankovic was at that game. You were there. We were there.
Yep.
I don't know where you were sitting, but I was in the red corner, section 211 in the corner.
104. 104.
Okay. Caps
Blue
bench,
line,
other side. I got
blue
you.
line behind the penalty box. No, it was behind the
bench.
It was on the other side. It was behind the
penalty box.
Penalty box.
I'm sorry.
Blue line.
You're right. I'm wrong.
12 rows up.
Okay. So before the game ends, as you know, 4th period, 5th period, 6th period, they ran out of concessions.
Yep.
They only had popcorn They had
That's
popcorn
it.
and sodas, and they might have had some hot dogs on, but it was really getting late, and people were getting antsy.
2 a.m.
It was a crazy, crazy night of hockey. And Bob Mason and Kelly Rudy were the
Yep.
goalies.
Yep.
Bob Mason lost like 16 pounds of water weight during the game in that equipment. Jackman says to me, and this was always Phil for as long as I knew Phil, and we went to a lot of playoff games in that era.
Absolutely.
86, 87, 88, 89.
Absolutely.
They beat the Bruins. They beat the Rangers on the Langway goal at the Garden. Like,
Indeed.
there are all of these games that you and I as Caps fans would remember, but there's nothing more memorable than if you were at that game.
Horrible.
Right? So Jackman says to me, I'm going to take the winners' locker room. You take the losers. And I'm like,
nice.
But Phil, that's the Freddie Patek thing, and I don't.
Yeah.
He's like, I got winners, you got losers. And he wanted me to experience
what that was.
A losing locker room.
Yeah, sure.
So he went over. Al Arbor was the coach.
Right.
Not Al Arbor. It was Al Arbor.
Yeah.
Al Arbor was the coach.
Yeah.
Al Arbor was the coach. Billy Smith, we're all there.
The heyday.
Trotch, all of them are playing on that team. And he went to that locker room, and he sent me in to the Capitals locker room.
Horrible.
I mean, first Brian comes, Murray, and gives this thing in a little. It was like a little. It's an interview room. You know what I mean? Now it's the situation room.
Right. The whole big
it was like
broadcast.
A little school classroom. It was like a little classroom that they had the players in.
Yeah.
Because there's a hockey rink. It's underneath the Capitol Center. And I went into that locker room, and it always smelled. Hockey locker rooms had that musty because of the gloves and all of that. And Bob Mason is sitting there amongst all of his sticks and all of his gear. And he's sitting there, and there's four of us: me, Bob Fachet, Robert Fay, and Bob Fachet from the Times and the Post, and a couple of reporters. Nobody there. It's 3 a.m.
Exactly. I said there. 2. It was after 2.
And I'm there, and this goalie has to talk to us
about.
And I'm 18 years old. And from that moment forward, if Sashi Brown were in front of me, who doesn't know his ass from his elbow, because he hasn't spent enough time with people like me, I could sit and tell him how many skipjacks, Orioles, Capitals,
Ravens.
I was at Dr. J's locker the last time he dribbled a basketball and was eliminated by the Milwaukee Bucks in Philadelphia night with Mike Wilbon. So, I saw Charles Barkley get eliminated that night. So I was at Tony Saragusa's locker after they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he knew his career was over.
Yep.
And they lost the game, and he's sitting in his locker trying not to cry.
Right.
Goose, trying not to cry. So I've seen some shit.
I hear you, man.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy. You know what let me say this.
Come on now. I've seen some stuff, right?
Let me tell you something.
Don't tell me that Mark Andrews, who makes more money than any of these people ever made, more money than Cal Ripken ever. He's a tight end. He's making 3 times the amount of money that Cal Ripken ever made. And if Cal Ripken can sit in front of me after Jeffrey Mayer steals a baseball, then you can sit in front of me, Mark. You can.
Hey,
and I don't know what else to say.
Let me tell you something.
You got death threats. Those people are jackasses.
That's right.
And that was pointed out. But you're a grown-ass man, and you're a leader. Be a leader.
Listen to me.
Be a leader all the time.
Listen to me. Here's
Sorry,
what I was.
I had to go. I had to do that.
I get it. Here's what I'm going to say. To wrap that, here's what I'm going to say. It doesn't matter the game. It doesn't matter the date. It doesn't matter the size of the game. But right this past weekend, or Monday night, after the national championship, the NCAA, those players, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, have to sit and be interviewed after those games. Have to.
Tell everybody out there, because they don't watch hockey.
Have to.
What happens after every hockey series, every playoff series? What happens?
Teams line up. Shake hands. That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Line up, shake hands,
Why
hug each
is
other.
that? What is the word? We have a word for
sportsmanship.
that. It's sportsmanship.
Simple. This is who you are. This is what it's about.
It's
but
what
I'm saying,
we're teaching young people
listen,
about sports.
I'm telling you.
Right?
I watched the post game because I'm that guy. I'm nuts that way. And I'm watching the post game ESPN, and on comes Riley Leonard, quarterback, Notre Dame, talking about, I didn't play well enough tonight, and I let my teammates down. 21, 22-year-old, my son's age, 21-year-old kid talking about that he didn't play well enough to beat the Buckeyes, and he had a great first drive, and after that he had 3 drives. He couldn't move the ball, and he let his team down, and he thought they may be able to pull this comeback off. He, receiver, coach, there, sitting in front of the media with a name tag, answering questions as a 21-year-old kid. And I'm thinking to myself,
I've seen this all my life. I have pictures of Ken Griffey and me and Mike Messina in the Orioles locker room after the Orioles eliminated the Mariners.
Right, but my point is these are pro athletes. We talk NIL. I get it, but the NCAA after what was it? Chris Webber, right? Calls timeout for that team up north, the Fab Five, and gets a technical, and they lose the NCAA tournament. Had to answer for that. They put all 5 guys on the dais, and they're answering questions. I don't understand, and I don't. Nobody apologizing for him. Look, Lamar came out. He took questions. He said, "I got to hold the effing ball." He apologized for saying it, but he said, "It's on me. I blew it. I got to hold the ball. I can't throw that interception. We lost the game, and I'm sick of this."
I'm not looking to crucify anybody as a journalist. I'm looking to professionally hold you accountable for what you say that you are, which is a professional.
What are you going to say? You say, "Look, I thought I had it. I fell over backwards. I lost the ball."
Well, the whole operation for me, and I'm going to continue for the next 8 months. I already sent DaCosta, the column, because I'm like, I'm not running from you people.
That's right.
I should have been in that room so he could have stood me up, but instead he stood up colleagues who are too afraid to call it out. Jamison Hensley and Jeff Zrebeck should be the ones calling this out. They were the ones freezing their ass off on their boss's dime up there. Their bosses should be calling Chad Steele saying, "The F are you doing?
Right.
I mean, what are you people doing over there? Where is your leadership?" Well, this starts with an owner who banned me, who ran from me on a veranda last March on the only opportunity you get to get near billionaires, because he doesn't come down here and mingle with the serfs here. And then they treat me this way. They treat other media this way. Ask Lock and Fora how it's going for him and how many times they've lied to him. And then Harbaugh gets up. Yeah, Zay has a chance to play this week. Sure. He has a chance. Like, I had a chance to have a media pass.
Right.
Like, this is going on. And this is Chad Steele. And I want it called out. And I want people to know about it. And I don't mind saying it on the radio. I'll say it anywhere. This is an organizational from an owner who doesn't show accountability, a coach who lies to people on the regular, a general manager who just coughs and looks the other way and only appears 3 times a year, including today. They did an hour today. And other than laughing in Jerry Coleman's face, they didn't even answer his question. Coleman asked him about Bisciotti, and they just pretended he didn't ask. So obviously, Bisciotti's watching these press conferences with a monocle but doesn't want to show up and hasn't shown up in a decade. So, hey, you buy the tickets. I hold the Orioles accountable, and they have all new people coming in. The Ravens, same thing with their tickets and where they are. But this isn't me being a jackass. This is their $16 million a year tight end dropping the ball and then not showing up for the press conference.
Yeah,
that would be unacceptable.
Wrong move.
Black, white, young, female, football, baseball, Martian, Earthling.
Yeah,
it's just not professional.
Absolutely.
It's not professional. And
I think
Bisciotti should understand that.
I think the wisest.
How can he understand that?
In all of this, I think one of the wisest comments you made, and I think this is what stands to me as the test, right? You put right in there in your correspondence. If you caught it and it was the winning catch, would you have stood up there and talked about it? And the answer is, you damn right. You damn right they would have. It's pathetic.
At that, you should drop You should drop the ball with that. Because
That's it.
whatever we just said, now, remember how people feel about me or
That's right.
any of this.
That's right.
It's not standard operating procedure. It's a moral obligation for what you do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's what you do. And if you don't want to do it, then make us all go away and just go kayfabe and make it professional wrestling and set your bets accordingly. And you know what I mean? People are betting on this.
Yep.
This is not like this isn't Little League. And I'm I should say I'm disappointed. I honestly, I want to show you and everyone this is how the media has been getting treated on the regular since Ray Rice punched his wife in an elevator and they all lied about it. That's really the heart of all of this because they did not behave this way before then. You know what I mean? They just didn't behave this way before.
Right. Something happened. Something tripped and away they went. So here we are, another off season, and I'll say it the same as I said it a year ago when you and I talked. I said this at the beginning of the season. I love the sport. I love watching them. I love going out there. It's fantastic. It's my entertainment. I enjoy it. I don't put my life stock into it. That I don't bet. I don't put my life into it. That Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm torn to shreds because they lost.
Hurt you more?
Yes. Okay. Yes, but
that is becoming
entertainment.
That is really their problem.
Right,
it's
become entertainment.
It doesn't hurt us enough anymore.
And the bottom line is, just like I said last year, this time, next year, this time, they either make the Super Bowl or they blew it. It's a losing season. It's terrible. No matter what happened during the season,
a tough bar, right?
It's the bar they've set. It's the
when
bar
you
they've set.
manage money for people, everybody has a different expectation of what's a good year or what makes them feel
That's
good.
right. We talk about par,
sports,
but the point is this team has set the bar that par for them is the Super Bowl. So the bottom line is they failed. Other teams, other cities getting to the playoffs is big. This team has set the expectation of Super Bowl. And they blew it. It's interesting, with the Ohio State thing, one of the things I found very interesting at the end of the national championship game, they lost to that team up north. And it was the end of the world. And then they went on a 4-game run, won the national championship. And a couple reporters and a couple analysts, they were all talking after the game, made a great point and said, you know what? Everything about the Buckeyes has been for the last X years, you beat that team up north or you failed. And there are idiots out there today saying this year was not a success for the Buckeyes because they lost to Michigan.
It was marred.
Idiots.
Do you know the Ravens lost to the Washington football team both years they won the Super Bowl?
There you go. There you go. I mean, look, we went, if I remember correctly, 5 games without a touchdown. And won the Super Bowl.
Rod Woodson got run over and
won the Super Bowl
by Stephen Davis in that game.
Right.
Right? I mean, so things
and won
happen.
the Super Bowl. So people are nuts. What are you going to do? People are nuts. But they've set this bar for themselves. I set expectations and par for your money. We talk about what that means, and we hold ourselves to that. We can't hold ourselves to something ridiculous. In this case, they've held themselves to a standard that is Super Bowl. The Buckeyes held themselves to a standard that was the Big Ten, beat Michigan, win a national championship. This year they went 1 for 3. And some people in that town think they're losers. All they did was win the national championship.
And now you got to do it again.
And next week you're 0 for 0.
Like, all I would say is that I hope the Kansas City Chiefs are 0 for 0 this week because I didn't think Buffalo.
God, I hope they're 0 for 1.
Just get it done now. Get it out of your system.
Knock them out.
I want to see Western New York drunk the entire month of February.
Yes, I'm all for it. There we go.
With chicken wing stains all
over. It's playoff-uary. Did you see those commercials?
I did.
Dr. Pepper, playoff-uary.
Their advertising must be working because more people are drinking Dr. Pepper than ever. So you can
absolutely true.
I've been drinking the Doctor ever since.
I'm all for Buffalo Wings this weekend.
Dr. J was
Buffalo Wings on the weekend for all my friends.
The first time I had a Dr. Pepper was probably after I saw Sheriff Buford T. Justice go in and I'll have a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper. He is Leonard
You
Raskin.
scumbum.
You scumbum. He manages money and comedy around here. You can find him out on
We're
the
having
Baltimore
fun.
Positive, or you can find him at raskinglobal.com. Doing the American Dream and money. We did a lot of sports this week. All right, have at it. Let the Caps go win some more games this week.
Amen.
Let the Bells go win, and I will see you next week. Cup of Super Bowl comes your way February 3rd. We start at Costas. All of it brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I will have apparently Monopoly scratch off, so I'm always about the community chest. I am Nestor. He is Leonard. We are WNST, AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking off season and spring training. It's baseball season. Stay with us.